Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18 plus.
Hi everybody, this is Centre Pass from London Pulse, the brand new podcast produced with anything but footy. London Pulse is London's only Vitality Netball Superleague side, but we're much more than that, and in this podcast we aim to explain why and how. I'm Sam Bird, the CEO and head coach of London Pulse. Welcome to episode 2. If you're listening for the first time, thank you for joining us, but don't forget to go back and download episode 1 too. But in this episode we want to talk about things that don't get talked about enough, periods and sport, and the challenges women and girls in particular face playing sport. We'll hear from 2 London Pulse partners who are making a difference.
We understand also how products need to move, so where they need to stretch and flex a bit more, because not all females have the same, chests or the same quad sizes. It really does vary.
It does affect them. It does affect, like I said, their well-being, their participation. It's something that this product, we feel, can definitely change that.
We'll hear from one of the Pulse players.
The opposite sex just don't get it in the nicest possible way. It's just something that they've never had to deal with, will never have to deal with. And yeah, it really can affect performances.
And talk netball and about the possibility of it being in the Olympics. This is Centre Pass from London Pulse. A recent Women in Sport survey showed that 64% of girls will drop out of playing sport by the age of 16. 42% of 14 to 16-year-olds say that their period stops them taking part in physical activity at school. At London Pulse, we're dedicated to connecting with our communities in London, so we've teamed up with Iceni, which makes specially designed underwear to ensure the stress and pressure of periods doesn't stop girls and women from participating in netball and the sports they love. Here's co-owner Vanessa Smith.
We specialise in period wear for sport. So we design and tailor period wear, and so knickers and shorts, which are designed for different kinds of sports. So we have from like a games range to an equestrian range, etc. So they're all cut and tailored for comfort. Periods can really affect the way you play, and it's not talked about enough, and that's why we came up with the business idea, is because I was a PE teacher for 20 years. And the participation rates during girls having their periods was really low, and it really affected them, their well-being. It was really sad to see girls not participating in sport because of their periods. So this is where I thought of this product, and we researched and we found a way that we could get around this, that they are able to play sport with no problems, and it takes that worry away from them. And also, the reason for starting it was because of my own girls, and I didn't want them to have to go through the issues that I went through when playing elite sport, with having those problems of your period stopping you really, and the embarrassing moments that lots of girls and women will talk about.
Can you tell us a bit more about the research that you did?
We had lots of prototypes made. It's very technical, the materials we use, etc. And we sent them to different athletes in different areas. And they did lots of kinds of agility, movement, sprinting, jumping, so we could get it right. So it was completely cut. They'd say, it's too tight here, it's not enabling me to jump, it'd be better like this. So we worked a lot with different athletes to get it right. And it's taken about 2 years. And then with COVID as well, to launch a business, it's been quite difficult. But the uptake's been brilliant, because I think we've got a product that for women is a game changer. So the technology we have something called silver, which makes us completely unique in the underwear and the shorts, which is antibacterial, and it has no odour, which again is something that when we researched and we did our market research, women were quite embarrassed of. So that takes away all those kind of worries. It's organic cotton, so it's really nice to feel. It's not a cheap product. There are a lot, cheaper on the market out there, but we've gone for quality, and we've gone for the fact that when you are playing sport, you will sweat. It can be uncomfortable, and we hope this just takes all of those issues away.
And a sustainable product.
Yes.
One that you're manufacturing in the UK.
We are indeed, which was very important to us to make sure that it was made in the UK, which is quite difficult and it's quite expensive, but it's something that we definitely wanted to keep going with, and I'm so pleased we have now. It's obviously COVID has been quite difficult, but the communication we have, and we're giving back to British industry, which I think is very important, and we also get our materials from small businesses in the UK. So we're probably the only period wear manufacturers in the UK that do everything here. We've got lots more in the development side coming out, so that'll be interesting. But no, I think it is something that is sustainable. It's very eco-friendly. You don't have to have that many, so we're saving money as well for a lot of children, which we found a lot of young athletes, believe it or not, were struggling with period poverty. And that was another thing. In the PE office, we used to have a box with sanitary wear for them, but with something like this, they can have and they can keep, and they'll just wash them, and they can last for 2 years.
So why enter the partnership with London Pulse?
I'm a netballer myself, so obviously it's in me. I love it. It's part of my life. I coach still, and I did play to a high level. But with Pulse, it was so important to me to find a link and work with a club. I mean, I love their diversity, their inclusivity, how they connect with the community. Just that it's got a real family feel as a club, and they've been so supportive of a small business like myself. So supportive, not only Sam and the management, but the players. And I just incredibly feel lucky that I have that support from them, because, they're a fantastic club. They're in London, they're where I'm from, and it just ticked every box when we were talking. I thought, God, this is a fantastic opportunity.
And, of course, a fantastic opportunity to partner up with Girls on the Pathway, because we know they've got hundreds of teenage girls coming through hoping to make it into Super League.
Yes, they do. And I'm very lucky because I'm one of the hub coaches. So, which was completely coincidental when my company and Pulse got together. We didn't actually know that at the start. But to see the players wearing them for me is fantastic, and hearing their feedback is just phenomenal. And knowing they're playing and they feel a lot more secure in them, and they're training every day. Their work ethic is so hard, and periods was something that could stop that. And I'm fortunate with the feedback that they've told me that they've really worked, they've been great. Again, game-changing for them. So really, really happy, and just feel incredibly lucky, like I say, to be working with a club like Pulse.
Yes, important, isn't it, to reiterate that your products, this partnership, it's being worn by players at the Copper Box week in, week out. Yeah,
which, again, you just, a big smile when you see that, because you just think, and when they report back afterwards and they've said, oh, yeah, and I'm like, brilliant, that's great, that's all I want, is it's helped you.
We talked about it being a small business, but this is a societal issue, isn't it? You talk about period poverty. That's a huge issue for so many young women out there right now.
Yeah, and it's not talked about enough. And there are a lot of male coaches in the netball world now, and in other areas of sport, coaching women. And so one of the things we've been doing as a company as well is partnering with male coaches, so we can make them informed, and and that it should be spoken about, because it can really affect, the period can really affect a girl or woman's life during that time. That's natural fact. So we've been very informative to a lot of people, and it's great that a lot of male coaches have been talking about it with their players, and trying to take that embarrassment away. We're also working on sometimes a change of kit, because a lot of women footballers that we work with have to wear white shorts, And they were just saying, this has just been awful for us wearing white shorts, but it's how they approach the subject. So we've been working with changing the kit, etc. So it's been a start of a really good journey, and I think we're opening up a lot of unanswered questions.
And what's your message to listeners to the podcast, young girls listening? Is it not to be embarrassed? There's solutions to some of the challenges they're facing?
Yeah, and you shouldn't let a period get in the way of your life. And unfortunately, that it does, and it's very difficult to explain that to some people, but it does affect them. It does affect, like I said, their well-being, their participation, and it's something that this product, well, we feel, can definitely change that. And hence the reason I'm so passionate about it, because I've seen with my own daughter, how she's managed to continue with her sport and not worry about anything. So if it's working at home here, I think, fortunately, it's working with all the other girls that I get the feedback from and their parents, and also, like I say, the elite athletes as well.
Great to hear from Vanessa speaking to Michael. She's right, this should not be a taboo subject. It's part of everyday life for all of our athletes. It's our philosophy at London Pulse that netball is for everybody. This includes young females who are grappling with the impact of periods on their bodies and their performance. And with the help of people like Vanessa, her Iceni co-founder Francesca, and also our kit manufacturer, the female-focused Flyhawk, who we'll hear from in a moment, we need to keep telling women and girls that their periods and body shape should not be a barrier to sport participation.
My name's Lindsay Keable, and I'm a London Pulse netball player. And I have been at Pulse for 2 years, and hopefully going to be there for my 3rd year. I have been in the Netball Superleague this will be my 15th season. I've also played for England previously, so I've been in the netball world for a very, very long time. I think playing in your teenage years is really crucial. For me personally, I have been blessed with being very tall. And for me, playing netball meant I hung out with more tall women, and it felt really normal, felt really almost short, which was great. So for me, it was definitely an identity thing that helped me feel that I fitted in and had sort of a belonging somewhere and wasn't abnormal, wasn't different, wasn't odd. So I think that was really important for me. I think other people at teenage years is also to keep fit and healthy. Like me personally, I really enjoy sport and very competitive. So netball was definitely something that I could chat with my friends as well as be really competitive in the court. And I was very blessed that I got to a point where I started to really see all the training was paying off with my skills, and I was being selected for under-17s for England, and I was just absolutely rocketing through sort of club promotions and things like that. So it was a crucial time for me. But I also see it's a really detrimental time for others because, teenagers are trying to find themselves. They're trying to identify their place in the world and everything like that. And sport can be really good at opening up new groups of friends, new areas, and just there's so many out there. After watching the Paralympics and the Olympics, there's just so many to choose from. It's quite competitive just in trying to get an audience. So I think it's really crucial for our teenagers to find something that they really enjoy, and that's got to be the crucial element. You continue because you enjoy it and you like it. Having your period whilst playing is it's quite hard work. Some people it affects far more than others. I used to have friends that were put in bed. I've got others who it doesn't really affect them at all. I think it's definitely something that's very individual to you as an athlete. And I know the research that's been going on to sort of tailor training, tailor performances due to sort of when your menstrual cycle is teaming up with you. So obviously you can't dictate when a competition is happening. However, there are obviously marvel and medicine things that you can take and do to try and affect it. But it's quite mad to think that females have to do hormonal treatments to try and stop something that's so natural, whereas men just don't have that issue. That's not something they ever have to think about. They're like, oh yeah, I'm due on tomorrow, and I'm playing in the World Cup final. How am I going to manage this? So it is definitely something to really focus on, and having your period is just another thing you have to keep a hold of. And there's so many apps out there that are fantastic at really making sure that they know or can predict quite accurately when you're due on, so you can prepare as the best possible. But obviously stresses and strains and different things all like to meddle in to make things life more difficult and pop in when you don't or don't expect it. So it's definitely keeps you on your toes. It's hard, and it's something that isn't really spoken about because you're more lethargic, you're more prone to injury, very exhausting, draining, and it's something that you have extra preparation for and extra things you have to do to make sure that the day goes more smoothly. So yeah, it does suck a bit, but we're women, we can multitask, we can deal with it. We are really blessed to have two amazing products. Iceni and Flyhawk are both driven by female CEOs and, creators, so they know exactly what we want, and they are super, super on it with what our needs are, what our musts are, the comfort as well. Like, I remember being a young person and, I've got 36 inside leg. You don't have kit that fits you. You'd have to have men's, and they're not designed in the same way. They're not, a comfortable fit, and that is something that Flyhawk definitely has promoted. They've got really good sizing, massive size, short size. Females come in all different shapes and sizes, and they're brilliant. And Iceni, again, they've given us products that we can use in a really active way. You've got underwear that you can just slip on. You don't have to worry about leaks or anything like that. And they're fantastic. They're super comfy. And, it's just an absolute dream as an athlete. You're not under any other pressure. You can just go out and deliver your performance. You don't need to worry about anything else going on, which is great. The classic line is feel good, look good, play good. And that is for everyone. Now, you could be an absolute Monday night league with your mates, Division 12, or you could be an elite athlete going to the Olympics. That is something that you must have, which is comfort. It's definitely something that is crucial to your performance, whether it's the most serious thing you're doing or the most fun thing you're doing. And it's really important that it does the job. And Flyhawk and Iceni do both of those things. They deliver on comfort as well as performance, which is brilliant. You can't ask for anything more, really.
This is Centre Pass from London Pulse. As we said in episode 1 of the podcast, we place great importance on our role away from the netball court and recognise our wider responsibility in instilling a love of sport and the benefits it can bring, which is why I'm thrilled with our 3-year partnership with Flyhawk, the brand new female-focused teamwear production company. John has been to meet with founder Stephanie Essex.
One of the main things that is especially unique about Flyhawk is we're female focused, as well as being female founded, and being predominantly a teamwear brand. I think we're actually one of the only teamwear brands that has female sport as its primary focus. It's quite typical for teamwear brands to be predominantly either maybe football focused or hockey focused or rugby focused, and if they're a multi-sports brand, netball is very often a bolt-on sport or a secondary sport, so it's not the primary focus for them. But that's where we differ as a brand. We are all guns blazing in netball. We eat, sleep, drink netball in terms of what we thinking about products. Our customers are all netball based, so what that also then means is every time we're thinking about products in terms of product development, it's all going into netball, thinking about what do the athletes actually want to wear, what are the physiques of netballers. And that's where I'd say we mainly differ, just that we are doubling down on the sport of netball, and I don't believe anyone has really done that before, certainly not in the United Kingdom.
It seems obvious as a good idea, but how did it come about?
Yeah, I mean, it seems obvious when you look at the stats. So 20 million people play netball worldwide, and you kind of go, well, it's a little bit strange that we've got there's a netball brand that exists in terms of equipment, Gilbert, but there's not really anyone else, and there's kind of a bit of a one-horse race, which you don't have in any other sport, particularly when there are 20 million people playing it. So how it kind of came about, I'm a former Super League netballer, got a huge passion for women's sport. For the last decade or so, I've worked in sportswear and teamwear, primarily in those sort of multi-sports brands I've talked about. So I've got a good understanding of how they operate, how the business model works. I took a bit of time out from the sportswear industry after the company that I was working for was acquired, and I decided it was kind of a natural point to step away from the brand after 10 years or so. I'd kind of achieved everything I could in that role. So I took a bit of a time out, managed to actually grab a holiday before lockdown in March 2020, which was quite lucky. And just during that time, kind of just noticed some things popping up on Twitter, people trying to look for kit, some female coaches and PE teachers realising that this big piece about how hard it was just to get some coaching shorts for them to go back to school in. And you kind of go... At the time I was thinking, it's 2020, this just shouldn't really be a thing. So then I just thought, if anyone's going to do it, I've got the skill set, I've got the connections within netball and knowing people across both grassroots and through to elite level, and just thought, yeah, why not? Let's give it a bash and let's launch a sportswear brand in a pandemic, which seems a bit bonkers, but yeah, we're getting there. It's all seems to be falling into place slowly but surely.
So it became apparent, even in a pandemic, that you could start this business, and you are effectively a success of the COVID pandemic?
I think what maybe the period afforded me was just probably extra time in terms of because everything ground to a halt. A lot of people were online, I think, voicing their opinions and their thoughts, which maybe they wouldn't necessarily have been doing, because ordinarily you'd be at training with your mates and say, I can't get hold of this. So because people are all locked up, they turn to platforms such as, Instagram or Twitter. So I probably actually was able to do a lot more listening than in a normal period, where we're not in lockdown. So that's the first thing. The second thing was the lockdown period. Also, I think people are now coming out the other side and they want something a bit different. So they're looking actually for a new brand anyway. And if that happens to be Flyhawk, then great. So we've also made the business model really streamlined. It's really digital. So just looking into things like our supply chain, making sure, it's kind of bulletproof where possible, where perhaps other companies, would have had a huge headcount. Because we're digital business model, the staff, we've set it up so our team can work remotely. We're not reliant on, huge offices, huge warehousing. It's quite a lean business model. And we were able to look at where a company's now struggling because we've gone into lockdown. Let's do the opposite of that and make it as possible, as much as possible we can, COVID proof. I guess I think a lot of people are probably doing that now, switching to online, thinking about how they take, transactions, how they deal with customers. So because we've been able to build from the ground up, thinking at the back of our minds we might go into lockdown any minute. I hope we don't again, but because we've planned for that, hopefully it means that we'll be a bit more resilient should anything like this happen again.
It may seem a really obvious question, but what benefit does it give you that a kit is designed by women for women?
I think it's just that understanding of knowing when a female puts on a piece of clothing, what are the bits that they're going to go to first. So simple things like on our leggings, we've got a nice high waist, because we know that we want that to be really comfy. We want it to, hide any sort of lumps and bumps or whatnot. Equally, we've got the experience of when something hasn't been quite right and it's not been like entirely comfortable. So it's quite hard to get, tracksuit bottoms the right length from, generic suppliers. So it's probably that we understand also how products need to move, so where they need to stretch and flex a bit more, because not all females have the same chest or the same quad sizes. It really does vary. With guys, obviously, having dealt with rugby clubs before, it's a lot more kind of straightforward in the sizing, because guys know, I'm a 34-inch waist and I'm a 42-inch chest, and if they get that, then you're away, then they're happy with it. Whereas with women, there's a lot more things to consider, because a size 12 fits people that consider themselves a size 12 very, very kind of differently. So you need to make sure that there's kind of give in certain places of products and not give in other parts where there needs to be support.
So tell us how the partnership came about with London Pulse, and also the interesting bit where they say that they feel that they will work well with you because the deal is not just a kit, it encompasses the whole club effectively. Yeah,
obviously, being able to observe how a lot of the Super League clubs kind of responded during first lockdown, and London Pulse was on our radar because of how proactive they were. They recognised that, this was going to go on for a while, and managed to engage all of their athletes from elite through to the pathways very, very quickly online, and were perhaps one of the most vocal clubs in terms of being positive and being proactive and saying, well, we can still get sponsors on board. We've still got platforms, we've still got databases. Let's make sure that we come out the other side of this even stronger. And I think they certainly have, under Sam's leadership and the wider team. The likes of, Claire looking after the sponsors and partners, and Emma on social. And I feel like they've got a really good footing now in terms of what huge range of partners. They've got so many, I don't know how they manage them all. But that was what caught our eye in terms of being proactive rather than the kind of woe is me approach. And because as a sponsor, if a Super League club is saying, look, we don't know if we're going to come out the other side, well, I'm definitely not putting any money towards that because I think I'm going to lose it. So if you get confidence from, like we did from London Pulse and from Sam saying, no, we're strong here, we're coming out the other side, and we're coming out even bigger and better, then straight away as a sponsor or someone looking to, work with a club like that, you have that confidence. So that was a real difference for us. And in terms of the wider partnership, you're absolutely right. It's not just kit. It's looking at, we work with London Pulse on the wider brand and how, we can support them with additional things such as, the website and the marketing, and creative ideas such as, photo shoots and just bringing the whole sort of London Pulse brand together so that actually the kit ties in with the brand messaging and the social media. It's not just, we don't just drop off kit once a year and say, best of luck, hope it all goes well, might pop down to a game. It's very all-encompassing and intense. They work at an obscene rate, the London Pulse guys. It's I don't know how they do it, but they're great fun, and it's good to have that relationship where we can bounce ideas back and forth on WhatsApp, or we can just pick up the phone and have a quick chat, because that also creates speed of decision making, and we can get stuff done very quickly as well. So really enjoying the partnership with London Pulse, and looking forward to what next season brings.
One of the topics of the podcast this episode has been about women and girls competing in sport. You would hope that Flyhawk would play a part in keeping females playing sport.
Absolutely. And something that we really want to do with our product range is we don't want to just be seen as a kind of a teamwear brand that only does the team kits. That's why we've kind of worked with elite athletes and international netballers. So, Serena Guthrie, Natalie Haythornthwaite, Stacey Francis and Jade Clark, players that are internationally renowned netball-wise, role models for women's sport. But we've worked with those guys to create a collection of products that they want to train in. And we sell those to individuals, on the online shop, because the idea is we need to make sure that women and girls, particularly in that teenage age group where that drop-off is, we need to make sure that the kit or the uniform isn't one of the barriers of them making them feel like, I don't really like what I have to wear for this sport, so I'm going to now just dip out and I'm going to go do something else. So if they see that actually there's nice kit that you can wear for netball and it's really comfortable, then I think that's something that helps. Equally, just raising the profile in terms of, our personality on social media. It's very fun, it's bubbly, it's engaging with that audience. We don't take ourselves too seriously. Having that kind of brand personality that would fit straight into a team is exactly how we want to be seen on social media. Under that kind of character in a squad, I guess, that kind of rallies the troops and organises the socials and the nights out and brings together everyone. That's how we want to be seen as a brand, so that gives girls, confidence that even if they've got product suggestions, can just drop us a DM on social media, like, have you thought about this? And we do get suggestions, and we do listen to them, and it goes into all of our product development for, the next products that come out.
Brings me on to a blog that I read about the netball dress or shorts and tops. What is the best way? And I assume it's personal choice, but I suppose this is what you're saying, that you're trying to give netball the currency that it needs.
Yeah, and I think this potentially even leads on to, bigger conversations as to how we get more guys playing netball, and there's more mixed netball, because I do think that will become a factor if we do want to get netball into the Olympics. But just maybe, we need to offer a wider choice of uniform. So potentially a team could all be in very similar kit and in the same colours with the same logos, but a couple of those players might choose to wear a vest and leggings to play in rather than a dress if they don't feel comfortable in a dress. And I think it's opening up the sport so that, particularly at social level, I think at elite level, the dress is a really important thing and players aspire to, to wear the dress. But at grassroots level, if you're playing down in a local league on a Tuesday night and it's freezing cold outside, then I think if we allow players, as long as they all look smart and they're all in, a version of the kit, if there's a mix and match option, then why not? Then surely, if it's all about getting people to play, and we can't have, league rules saying you must wear this, you must be in a dress and you can't wear leggings. That's just ridiculous, because we're not helping ourselves as a sport if we kind of inflict those kind of rules and regulations. Equally, it might be that in mixed netball teams we start to get more of a kit that can kind of go across, men's and women's, like a vest and a short option, rather than necessarily the guys being in vests and shorts and the ladies being in dresses. I think we need to think about it much more as players should be able to play in what they feel most comfortable in, and hopefully that will prevent some people from dropping off from the sport. But I do think the netball dress will still be the most popular item. We did a poll actually last week on social media. I think we had about 500 votes. The netball dress came out at 80% as still being the preferred option, but it's not 100%. So we need to also make sure we're catering for that other 20%.
Now, you mentioned the big O word. You're a former player. How important would it be for netball to be in Brisbane 2032, which is what they're saying? The Olympics, netball, Australia, which of course we know is synonymous with netball as well. How realistic is it? And as you mentioned, does it have to involve the men as well, a mixed team or a mixed event at some point?
Yeah, there's so much discussion about it at the moment. I would love to see it at the 2032 Olympic Games. I think Brisbane realistically is probably one of the best shots to do it, because Australia being the host nation. Not being in the Olympics at the moment does feel like a bit of a gaping hole in the sport when you consider how many people play globally. Equally, what it could then do for the sport to elevate it, being an Olympic sport, the additional sponsorships it would bring in, the additional competition it would add within a 4-year cycle. I think it was Bethany, the president of Netball France, put out a really interesting tweet the other day, and it was, we need to stop just seeing barriers and just think these are just hurdles we need to jump over, and let's just find solutions, because so we need kind of problem solvers behind it to kind of go, okay, what if it's the problem? Let's find a solution to that. And if it is a version which maybe is slightly more different to fit in with the competition, then let's be flexible as a sport, because there are only benefits to come, I think, from being in the Olympics. I think it'd be really challenging to try and pick a Team GB squad, however, because there's an awful lot of talent, across the whole of Great Britain. But that wouldn't be my problem. So, but yeah, I'd love to see it in the Olympics.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed for that. Let's just get back to Flyhawk to finish. You've got a 3-year partnership with London Pulse. Where do you see Flyhawk in that period and the partnership going from there?
I think next year is going to be really exciting. Hopefully we can now get fans back into stadiums, and then that obviously naturally leads on to other things, more people being able to physically, see and touch the kit rather than just seeing, it all online and ordering and ultimately hoping for the best. Whilst COVID is hopefully subsiding, we can then hopefully push on with our international plans. I think just keeping on the same path that we are now, growing really organically, spreading the Flyhawk word across the UK in particular. We're very committed to our partnership with London Pulse and seeing, what can come off the back of that in the next couple of years. We're absolutely building a brand that we want to be here beyond our lifetime, certainly, but be known as that kind of legacy brand for netball.
As you heard from Steph, the partnership extends much beyond the supply of kit for both parties, and that really appeals to us as we're both committed to raising the bar for netball.
Sam, Steph also discussed the Olympics and netball being part of it in the future. As a former player and now CEO of London Pulse, what do you think?
Well, my view is that absolutely it should be in Brisbane 2032. It's long overdue. Netball is a global sport. It's one of the strongest female sports in the world, and it's long overdue. And most athletes that play netball would absolutely love for the Olympics to be the pinnacle of their career.
And you might argue that there's no better place to start than doing it in Australia.
I do remember, and those older listeners will also remember, when the Olympics was in Sydney, and I was actually really hopeful as a young athlete then myself that Australia would put netball in at that point. And I remember being absolutely devastated that they put ballroom dancing in instead. And that's no disrespect to ballroom dancing, but as a young aspiring netballer, I was pretty shocked that sort of got the nod over netball. So I don't think we can take anything for granted. I do think that the response this time, though, from those key individuals in Australia, and right from the CEO of Australia Netball all the way through to all the Suncorp teams, the fans, there is a drive for netball to be put into the Olympics when they get the opportunity to do that. So I'm much more hopeful this time round, and it's really important that globally netball fans and netball participants push for netball to be an allocated sport. It just drives the next generation of interest to come and see what our game's about, come to London and the Copper Box, which is on the Olympic Park, and that's part of our Olympic legacy, and to connect netball with the London Olympics and to see netball being on the Olympic stage would just be absolutely fantastic for not only international competition but national level, which is where ultimately these athletes are found and nurtured. And that's it for another edition of Centre Pass from London Pulse. Thanks to all my guests and to you for your continued support. Please download and follow to ensure you will automatically hear our next episode coming soon.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.